Afternoon, ladies and gents. What a great privilege, firstly, for being here and really having an opportunity to share some thoughts with you around the real purpose of why I'm here. And I wrote it down. Why are we here? And essentially, it's about presenting what I do. But I think for you to understand what I do, I think it's essential for you to get somewhat of a picture of who I am. So, when you think of the name JP Dumini, a lot of you will think of the context of JP Dumini, the cricketer, which is a large part of my life in terms of what I do and what I did. And currently what it stands as is I'm a cricket coach for the Proteas as a batting coach, and I've been part of the Proteas environment now for a year and had an amazing experience thus far. And the transition of playing to coaching has been an interesting one, which is probably something we can talk a little and tap a little bit into a little bit later. But let's come back to this context of why are we here? And I want to share a little bit about the JP21 Foundation, but before we get there, I really want to tap into why the JP21 Foundation was actually started. So I go back to my playing career, and coming from disadvantaged background, my dad was one of my main supporters, and I think about all the sacrifices that he has made for me to live out my dream, even though that dream was somewhat blurred at times where I was unsure whether this was something that I was actually going to achieve. My dad was somebody that believed in me, along with many other people, but essentially the main thing that he shared with me was, every opportunity that you get, how are you going to pay that back to somebody else? So essentially what he was saying was, whatever you get in this life, how are you going to pay that back to the next generation? And that's essentially where the JP21 Foundation was birthed. So I grew up in Strandfontein and Mitchells Plain. When you think about this community, you think about plus minus over 1 million people. There's 56 primary schools in this community. And before we started in 2015, only 4 schools were actually playing the game of cricket. So essentially what I'm saying is, I was the last figure from a context of sport that actually came out of this community and made it into, let's call it, the big leagues. So I was driven with this idea that my dad planted many years ago to say, how am I going to use my credibility, my opportunities to pay it back to the next generation? Hence, JP21 Foundation. And essentially what we do, we run and facilitate primary school cricket. I spoke to you about 56 primary schools, and to date now, we've got 33 primary schools that is involved in our program. All right. So I mentioned that I've been given this great ability to live out a passion, to live out my career in a way that has, I guess, fed many South Africans in the context of performance. But what I realized towards the end of my career, and a very good friend of mine shared this context with me, as simple as it sounds, it's really hit me in my heart, which says, it's not about you. So we live in a society, and in particularly when we think about high performance or high performing teams, high performing people, we can get lost in this understanding that it's really about what I achieve, right? And essentially, as important as that is, I also want to share a different thought. It's not about you, right? So we're coming back to this idea of why we're here. I believe one of the greatest purposes that I've been given is to use the experience that I have to influence people in a positive way. And that is why I'm here. I'm wanting to reach out to you in a context of a sponsorship, sharing of skills, whatever that may look like. And we can think about the context a little bit later over a coffee. And hopefully this talk is really about getting a big understanding of what we do, but the nuts and bolts of how we're going to collaborate, hopefully at some point, is going to happen over a coffee, no doubt. But it's really just sharing a greater picture of what we do. So essentially, I mentioned to you that 33 schools are involved in our program. We've got under 10, under 12, as well as KFC mini cricket that we are involved in. And we've got over 2,000 kids now that are involved in the JP21 Foundation. But what has been the greatest success story for us? And here it is. It is seeing kids come to school. Now think about the context of this environment where you've got underprivileged kids coming to school with hungry bellies. They don't necessarily have the support of parents. A lot of them come from broken homes. A lot of them come from single parenting. And they lose the motivation to come to school. But here is an opportunity where they're actually coming to school with the understanding that they're excited about what's to come after school. Just think about that. So we have an opportunity to influence how they think about after school, but it's influencing how they look and operate within the frame of school. And that's the impact that we're after. I'm seeing changed lives. I'm seeing parents coming actually to support their kids playing the game of cricket. I'm seeing smiles on faces when they come to school. So as much as the reality of the situation is that not everybody's going to represent our country. I think we know that. But ultimately, the purpose here is to get kids playing a sport that can teach them some life skills, that can teach them what it feels like to be part of something bigger than themselves. And that's essentially the big picture here. I'm wanting to be part of something that's bigger than myself. And I think that gives us purpose, that gives us vision, that gives us context to the greater purposes of our lives. Now, we've had some great stories that we can share around what's been successful for us. We've recently, one of the kids that started with us in 2015, last year, got a professional contract to play for Northwest. And to see how that has impacted not only him, but his family is what has been such a joy for us as the JP21 Foundation. And we want to see more stories like that. Not just in the context of representing a professional team, but change lives in the terms of their mindset of what they can achieve, and whether it is somebody that is related to some business someday, going out and starting their own business. And I think this is the foundation that we have, that we can provide opportunities for them. I always like, whenever I do an encouraging talk to these young kids, I always speak to them about what you see in front of you does not have to be your reality. What you see in front of you does not have to be your reality. So why do I say that? Let's just think about the context of these kids. All they see is that gangsters, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, that is what their future looks like. And if they don't have influential people in their lives telling them a different story and narrative, how are they going to know the difference? They see this instant gratification about the shoes that they wear, the clothes that they wear, the cars that they drive, from the people around them, and how they actually achieve that success. And that's what they think the success story looks like. And we want to change that narrative. And we want to use cricket as a vehicle to do that. And we've seen the success stories already. We want to speak directly into these young kids' lives, because they are the future, not only of our country, but our society and of the world. So if we can influence them in a way that allows for them to make better decisions, better choices, and impact the people around them, impact their families, I think we're achieving our goal. So what do I need from you? I need a little bit of your time to share a little bit more in depth about what we do. I'd love an opportunity to partner with you in the vision of changing lives. We have a slogan that we like to use for the foundation, which is be the standard. So what does that mean? We want to be the standard that really changes the narrative of what we believe society is about and what opportunities are about for these young kids. And we have the opportunity to do that together. You have amazing success stories in your lives and in your business. And I believe if we partner together, we can change lives in a massive, massive way. And I look forward to the opportunity to do that with you.